Why do we fail? We work so hard. We work more than any other person, more hours a day. We did everything we said we would do. Why do we fail? This was me and 6 other directors of the leading corporate that I used to work for at the end of the year when we looked at our financial results. At that point, it was the 6th year in a row that we were making losses. This was not a good story. Not a good story for us, not a good story for the shareholder. But why do we fail? For us, this was a question that we could not answer because we did work hard and we did do the things that were in our strategy that would help us to grow. So why were we not growing? We couldn't understand this, but we knew for sure that the shareholder would not be happy about that story. Let me tell you, in the time that I was working for this corporate, it's one of the companies in Zimbabwe, perhaps, that has the privilege of working in a sold-out market. Now, if you're selling cement, which is what we used to sell, in a sold-out market, what more do you want? It means everything that you create, someone is going to buy. So how do you make losses where everything that you make, someone is going to buy? How do you fail to deliver value in a situation like that? We as directors were struggling to understand the phenomenon behind this. And this is the same thing that many organizations experience when it comes to business strategy. Companies get to the end of the year and they cannot understand what went wrong in the journey to achieving their goals. So over time, 5 years later, I was able to connect the dots of what had gone wrong. So let me tell you what I discovered. From the time that we were working 2010, our approach to strategy was functionally focused. And so what we would do is, at the end of each year, we would choose a destination for where we were going to spend time together to look at the business. We would ask each business leader to look at their challenges and come up with a plan of how to solve those challenges. It sounds reasonable enough. It sounds logical. Because strategy is about solving problems. And each one of us would go to their teams and work on a strategy for their function. We would go to the resort where we planned to have the final meeting, and each leader would walk to the front, as I am doing today, and present their strategy for their function. And throughout the 3 days, people would defend their intellectual capabilities. As you know, strategy is a complex subject. And when you're writing about strategy, you want to have lots and lots of slides so that you look like you are intelligent. And you look like you've applied yourself enough. And so for 3 days at that resort, it would be slides karaoke. Each person going through what they believed was the solution to the business challenges. And at the same time, leaders would be criticizing, giving their thoughts, and saying what they think should be done. We believed that that was our alignment process. So if anybody asked us, were you guys aligned? We were sure that we were aligned because we went through 3 days of criticizing each other and double-checking each other's work. But at the end of the 3 days, we would walk out of that room. No one would remember what the next person is going to do. No one would remember what exactly are we trying to solve here. Each person, however, remembered their piece, what they were supposed to do, and what they were meant to achieve. What that led to on the ground were operational wars. Because on the day, the marketing director would like to hold a big marketing event, is the same day the operations director would like to push his highest volumes. And so he is not allowing for anybody to be released to go and attend that. The choices were disintegrated. Each choice was going in its own direction. But we didn't see this, because this is how every corporate that I have known approaches strategy. Today, as I work as a business consultant, I get called by companies to help them to build strategy 2 days before the time. And I ask them, what do you want me to do 2 days before the strategy session? Because in their minds, we've already done the strategy work, we've already prepared the presentations, you are just coming to be an MC, to moderate the discussion. We were lucky that a few years later, we got a new leader in our business. This guy had spent a lot of time working in strategy, and he understood strategy. And so his approach to strategy was completely different to our approach to strategy. At the center of his approach was understanding the challenge of the season. As I said, in our approach, we looked at what are the challenges we have and how do we solve them. But this is not the question that we need to be asking. The question we should be asking is, what is the challenge that needs to be solved? And not what is the solution to the challenges. When we master that, we are then able to craft all our choices to focus on that challenge. And so the new boss came and he said, guys, we need to work on understanding what our challenge is. And to do that, I don't need your brains. I don't need any of you to tell me what is wrong with this business. Our stakeholders will tell us. And so market research was done, customers, employees, boards, governments, communities, all of these people telling us what was wrong with our business. And as we looked at the story and the data, the challenge started to become crystal clear. The challenge that we needed to deal with. The challenge of the season. It cannot be multiple challenges. It can only be one challenge for each season. Why is this important? Because in any organization, you have finite resources. And you have finite time to do things. And so if we are chasing things in multiple directions, we end up spreading ourselves thin, we spread our resources thin, and we achieve nothing. And so he identified that the greatest challenge we had of that season was the fact that our profit margins were unsustainable for a cement business, which meant that our cost structure was high. And he said, everybody in this room, your job, your challenge is to tell me how you are going to give me an extra $2 per ton in cost savings in the coming year. And we need to find out how every person, every division can contribute to increasing our cost margins, our profit margins. And so HR, contrary to what I used to do in the past, now I had to think critically. Now I had to think, how do I reduce the people costs to grow our profit margins? How do I get the costs of the people to go from being fixed to being variable so that they move with the growth and decline of the revenue that we are making? Because as long as our costs remain fixed, we will never be able to get good profit margins. And our marketing teams had to think, how do I get the brand out there without spending money? What do I need to do to achieve my results without spending a lot of money? Our distribution teams had to think, how do we reduce the cost per ton per kilometer to get our costs down? And our procurement people had to think, what are our highest cost drivers? How do we renegotiate these costs down to be able to get a cost reduction for each of our strategic raw materials? Now watch this. Can you imagine when all your energy is directed at the one thing, what that does at the end of the year? The company I worked for had been making losses of 2 million per annum. In 1 year, by changing the focus from starting from a micro silo point of view and going outwards to starting from one point of view and going inwards, we were able to bring that company back to break even. The profit margins for the company grew from 16% to 25%. So why do companies continue to do strategy in a siloed manner? Because it feeds the egos of different directors. It makes people feel important. When I was HR director, I used to have my own HR strategy, which had nothing to do with what the business was doing. I would wake up and hear that people are doing wellness programs and they are spending this much money on gyms for employees and this. And I would just say, in my strategy, we're going to build a gym and people are going to go running and we're going to spend $300,000 on this. To what end? To achieve what? How does that help to accelerate the business goal? How does that bring everything together? So first point that I want to make today is that when you are designing and building strategy, a strategy is an integrated set of choices. Integrated set of choices means that each choice is focusing on the one problem and not many choices that are focusing on multiple problems. That is the only way that you create value. Secondly, we must be able to choose what is the challenge of the season and be able to focus on the challenge. The discipline of focus is our greatest challenge in strategy. Once you've achieved the process and mastered it, once you're there, it now centers down to choices. What are the choices that you're going to make for your business? And I think everyone in here understands that. When you're doing strategy, you're making choices. You are deciding where to sell, which markets to focus on, which products to do, which customers to give what. And that's great. But that's not the most important part of strategy. The most important part of strategy is not deciding what to do, but deciding what you will not do. What is it that you will not do? Because therein lies the confusion of most businesses. When you don't decide what you will not do, you will go back to work and suddenly you see your competitors doing something. And then you have a meeting to say, we need to do that. Oh, that makes sense. Right? Suddenly, you are channeling your resources towards that. Your other competitor starts doing something else. And then you call an emergency meeting. Oh, we need to do that too. And over again, you're spreading your resources thin. Deciding what not to do is at the center of strategy success. One of the choices of what not to do around strategy is to fight on price. Every time when people lose hope, when people are out of choices. They want to grow revenue. Let's reduce the price. They want to grow market share. Let's reduce the price. They want to take customers from the competitor. Let's reduce the price. Today, I want to introduce you to a concept that was introduced by a man called Robert Greene, of something called a Pyrrhic victory. So what is a Pyrrhic victory? A Pyrrhic victory is a victory. Actually, this concept was taken from war. And a Pyrrhic victory would be a victory that happens where the winner loses more than the loser. Let that sink. A victory where the winner loses more than the loser. It's a victory so bloody, so emotionally draining, so destructive that you have won, but at what cost? Now, I bring it back to business. When I was in Lafarge, which is the company I was working for, in one of our markets, a competitor of ours started a price war because they wanted to gain more market share. So hypothetically, let's say cement was selling at $8 a bag at the time, and they started the price war, so they took it to $7.50. And then we took it to $7. And they took it to $6.50. We took it to $6. They took it to $5.50. And we took it to $5. They took it to $4.50. And then we were like, okay, this doesn't make sense no more. It ended there. A bag of cement, $4.50. But you know what happened? Since that year, it happened in 2010, up until today, 2023, no cement company has been able to make a profit in that market. At $4.50, you can't even cover your fixed costs. So what is the point of destroying value in the market that you are sitting in? You came to join this market because you saw the margins that were there, because you saw the strength of the profits you would make. So what is the point of destroying the value that you came for in the first place? That is the semblance of a Pyrrhic victory. Yes, you won, but at what cost? So as we play this game, the game of strategy, the game of choices, at the center of it is recognizing that it's a long game, it's an infinity game, and we want to continue to exist in the industries that we have chosen. We are not playing to win tomorrow, we are playing to win perpetually. And in perpetual winning, we must maintain good profits and good margins. And so someone would ask me, so if I don't fight on price, how would I fight? How do I win? You can win on so much. You can fight on quality. You can fight on marketing. You can fight on distribution. You can fight on talent, on the people and the quality of people you have. You can fight on your route to market. You can fight on innovation. You can fight on anything else. Price must be the last gun. And price, in my world, price is the gun of a desperate man. It must be the last gun when you have done everything else and it's not working. And you are now prepared to not only die, but to kill the entire industry while you're doing it. Price wars don't benefit anybody. They don't benefit you. They don't benefit the customer. Because as you fight on price, you compromise on quality because you can't produce the product at the same level of quality when the price is coming down. As you fight on price, the options or competitors start to fall out of the industry and fall out of the game. And so for the customer, the options actually reduce over time as you fight on price. they're probably left with one player in that market who supplies them because everybody leaves the game. And so, at the center of everything is a choice. Strategy is about choices. Choices of what to do, but most importantly, choices of what not to do. Thank you.